There's probably two people in a garage right now that are developing the coolest code for healthcare, retail, I don't know. And what's going to happen is they're going to say, how do we get this to market? And there's really kind of only one company out there that has the capability to bring in those third-party analytics, run them at the edge, deploy them to a very large swath of partners from our channel partner program and end customers that are already utilizing our devices. So I'll tell people like, look, I think we're pretty smart. We're a pretty sharp organization. I don't know everything that you're going to need 2 or 3 years from now. I can't guarantee it. But what I can guarantee you is there are going to be other people that are going to come and they're going to want to partner with us and work with us. And I can tell you, we get 25 applications a week into this partner platform, and it's vetted, and these people get a deeper dive into what's running behind the scenes from a programming standpoint on an Axis product.
I'm excited to welcome John Callahan to Defender, Director of the Southeast Business Area for Axis Communications with an extensive 30-year background in security. John, welcome to Defender.
Dave, thanks for having me. This is a great pleasure. I'm very much looking forward to this. I've never been interviewed on a podcast before.
Hey, first time for everything.
That's right.
So, man, we've known each other forever, for over a decade.
Yeah.
But for the Defender audience, I thought it'd be good to have you give a quick background on, what got you into the security industry and just a little bit about your role there at Axis Communications.
Sure. Well, it's kind of funny. What got me into the industry was I was 21 years old and I was looking for a job. And I got a job working in a warehouse for a very large multi-regional alarm company that had a headquarters in Oak Brook, Illinois, that's outside of Chicago. And was there for about 2 years. And in that time, interfaced a lot with distributors and manufacturers. And from there, I went into distribution. And I worked for a company for a very long time that's very synonymous in the electronic security distribution world, ADI. Spent a number of years there. And then when one of a very large voice and data distributor at the time called Annixter, and this is in the late 90s, early 2000s, started getting into security, I went and worked for Annixter and spent the better part of a few years at Annixter, moved on to another distributor called Windy City Wire. And then my first foray into manufacturing was when I met you, and we worked together at Aerocont Vision. And then just shy of 9 years, came here to Axis Communications. And when I came to Axis, I was, I guess you could say, the traffic cop or liaison for one of our distributors here. And then 4 years ago, got into the management side of the business and was relocated from Chicago down here to sunny, beautiful South Florida and Fort Lauderdale, where I am talking to you from one of our Axis Experience Centers. And very happy to be over. There's 6 business areas in the United States for Axis. The Southeast is one of them, and we have 2 offices and 50 people in our region.
Not a lot of people know that Axis has been around since 1984 and created the very first IP camera. So I thought it'd be great if you can kind of give a quick background on Axis as a company and just what they've been doing.
It's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, Axis has been in business since 1984, 40 years. And some people know this, some people don't, but Martin Gren and a gentleman by the name of Carl Axel Ohm developed the world's first network camera in 1996. So what were we doing in 1984? Martin Gren developed something called a print server. And networking and Internet of Things had not obviously really been a common term back then, but the print server essentially was what a camera encoder came to be. Was it allowed you to connect a printer to a network and print from it. And at this time, these type of printers were synonymously proprietary to the mainframe system that you were using. So this print server allowed companies to be a little bit more flexible in choosing what type of printer they wanted to utilize. And then that got access into scanning and storage. And one of the things that Martin Gren has pointed out is a terminology that was used back then by Axis was thin server technology. And what thin server technology is IoT, the Internet of Things. And this is something that we were doing way back in 1984, which brought
Wow.
us into, developing the camera in 1996.
Yeah, and then physical security has changed, tremendously. And in fact, that's one of the things I just wanted you to
Yeah.
share your perspective on the physical security industry and just where Axis is headed with AI-enabled devices.
Yeah, it's a really good question because, you know, um, been in the business for a while and, I guess you could say cut my teeth in the analog world of, cameras on switchers to multiplexers to, time-lapse recorders, then ultimately to digital video recorders. And, it was slip, fall, loss prevention, things like that. And what has really come into play, what we're seeing in Access and in our entire team is the operational efficiencies, where we're kind of leaving this space of traditional video surveillance, and organizations are looking at ways that the camera itself has become a sensor, and this sensor can give me data that can make my business more operationally efficient. And we are constantly, every day, we're being pulled into new directions, which are totally outside the traditional video surveillance space. Where I just kind of think to myself, I'm like, wow, it has totally changed, and it's really fun because we're a growing organization and we constantly are recruiting and interviewing. And when I have recent college graduates come in and we talk about, it's something that I can tell somebody like, this business is, I don't know where it's going to be 5 years from now, I don't know where it's going to be 10 years from now, but it is just continuing to grow. And yeah, we do a lot in traditional security, video surveillance type applications, but we're being pulled more and more and more into these other realms of the space outside of that.
Yeah, you and I had a discussion about, some of the non-traditional business applications you're seeing. Can
Yeah.
you touch on just, operational efficiencies, analytics, and how Axis is helping businesses actually capture data to make them more efficiently,
Oh,
more
definitely.
make them their people more efficient?
Yeah. I mean, business one in particular could be, retail, where it could be very important to a retailer to know how many people were in the store that day and how they flow throughout the store, what aisles they walk down, how long do they spend in front of a display, what if they purchased. Um, these are all things that are super powerful, as you can imagine, to an organization, selling something, marketing to someone. But then we can take it a step further from an operational efficiency where I might be able to utilize through our cameras to better run your inventory, help you run your inventory, help you have your inventory be more real time. Um, an example that I'll tell people all the time is, if you've ever been into a Target, you usually see the manager with the little walkie-talkie kind of pacing back and forth between the cashier aisles. And when the line gets too long, they call and have somebody come up. We have the ability to, queue monitor, count number of people in line. And then with an audio capability, I can generate a message to that person on the walkie-talkie to the break room and say something like, hey, we need more cashiers up front. Let's go do this. So taking out that human element, making it more operationally efficient using an analytic from something that's already there, watching the security, the point of sale for that retailer, it's really powerful.
It is. I mean, you can think of a million applications for that,
Definitely.
just in terms of whether it's construction sites or whatever, right? Just for
Yeah.
sort of compliance. And that kind of gets into almost video surveillance being um, more of a necessity, especially with insurance companies,
Yeah.
kind of mandating that.
You bring up an interesting point because just the other day we had a company that's looking at doing some video surveillance for a property management company, and they told them that their insurance company is mandating that they store video of a certain resolution for a certain duration. And I can tell you
Wow.
this duration is longer than 30 days. And it's something that I always thought sooner or later, how fire alarm is mandated, not by an insurance company, by the county and the authority having jurisdiction, but
Yeah.
I could really see where, an insurance company that now I have something where I can have usable video, um, that could protect me from the statute of limitations on slip and fall type scenarios where I have that resolution, I have that data, and I can store it for a duration. Well, we might be able to offer you a premium that is much less costly because our exposure to those type of lawsuits has been dramatically reduced.
Yeah. I mean, I saw, I mean, that's probably what actually got me in the physical security industry was out of data storage and into that, seeing that long-term video surveillance and the storage for that was going to be a growing trend, right?
Right. Right.
And like to your point, a slip and fall, these larger organizations getting sued, and I think they have like 90 days to do a lawsuit. So if they're only keeping 30, there's a problem there. And now I saw more and more of being more of a year. So yeah, that's a huge trend for sure, and I think that's going to be sort of a growing almost mandate, like you're saying, for the insurance companies because they don't want to pay out for something like that.
Definitely. And it totally changes. And this, kind of reminds me years ago, we had asked somebody, "So how long do I need to store video?" You'd say, "Well, how long before you know that you've had a problem or something's missing?" And the answer to that question can vary dramatically uh, by the end customer. And now with storage, video becoming more compressed, maybe I can be a little bit more precise about what I want to store, where I'm going to store it. Might be able to keep some high quality video for months, years at a time if I wanted to.
Yeah, and thank goodness the compression is there because now we have larger and larger camera systems. In fact, me, I love
Yeah.
multi-directional cameras. That provide great situational awareness, reduce camera counts, all that good stuff.
Hmm.
And I was looking at your AI powered panoramic 4 8 megapixel sensors at 15 frames per second. And I was thinking, how are you guys leveraging your chipsets? And maybe you
Yeah.
can talk a little about your chipsets. And how are you providing some unique features for a camera like that?
So sure, unique features with our chipsets. We're able to do more processing power at the edge. So a chipset in today's environment, it's you know you have to be living under a rock to not hear the term data, metadata. What are you doing with all this data? Um, our chipsets and our ability to leverage more of that data from a camera that, as you can imagine, that type of processing power needed to do that type of resolution at that frame rate is very intensive.
Oh yeah.
So our chipsets, being able to not only do that type of resolution and frame rate, but then in addition, be able to provide the type of possible metadata that you want from an analytic to utilize, you know, an analytic to provide you with some information of which could be, maybe that multi-sensor camera is in a manufacturing facility that has certain guidelines that employees need to wear a hard hat, they need to wear a vest, they need to wear certain things when they're around certain types of machinery. I can have AI chipsets that can say, whether or not the person's wearing a hard hat. Okay. And going back to an insurance scenario, you know, that could be a really, really big deal if somebody's not wearing the protective gear on this manufacturing floor, wow, I could have a camera that could not only give me the situational awareness and, record the video in a resolution that I want, but also tell me if somebody's not wearing the specified gear that they should be wearing. So it kind of goes back to what we talked about with operational efficiencies, but as it relates to our chipsets, taking that data and not only being able to leverage the processing power needed to do the higher resolution, higher in frame rate, but also still have the ability to extrapolate data from that video stream.
I was going to ask you too, what's Axis's approach to cloud and edge-based computing?
Well, Axis is known as an open source company. We were founded on those principles and still carry them today. I know you're familiar with ONVIF. So, Axis with Bosch and Sony were founding members of ONVIF back in 2008. And that was some thinking at the time of, hey, everybody doing this proprietary type of communication is not really good. We should figure out a way that we can all kind of work together. So our cloud capability, we have a cloud offering called Cloud Connect that we're still working on as we speak today. But essentially what that is we're opening up the cloud. So I think today when people hear of cloud and they think of video surveillance, predominantly what you're going to have is you're going to have a camera manufacturer that makes a particular product that is going to work with their cloud. What we're doing in the cloud scenario is we are able to utilize our hardware, our cloud, but then take in other partners and say, do you want to develop utilizing our hardware and our cloud and bring some type of analytic or some type of service that you can be able to do this? And, sometimes I'll be honest with you, we kind of get knocked at where people say, oh, you guys are behind in the cloud. There's all these other companies. And, people may or may not know is we have over 1 million cameras in the cloud, and we've been putting stuff in the cloud for years. And what we're doing today is we're doing some unique things that go back to the heart of what got Axis started. Our foundation is the openness in the open source. And that is where you're going to see our cloud initiative much different than other competitors today.
Yeah, I think that's needed. And then that kind of brings into the edge computing, right? Because you have these devices and a large storage that could be on board those. I think that's a big key with Axis as well.
Definitely. The edge side, I mean, we've been doing things at the edge for quite some time.
Yeah.
We actually have something called an ACAP, which is, to put it in layman's terms, is essentially like an app store. So I have third-party analytics. We have something called a technology integration platform. So if you were a company that was developing a license plate recognition analytic and you wanted to be able to utilize that and run it on the edge with Axis devices, we can do that. So we give people that capability to come in and partner up with us and essentially have this software that runs at the edge. We do it with a lot of different companies and partnerships, and a way that it almost in a certain aspect, I'll tell people, hey, Dave, do we know what the future is going to need from video surveillance in 6 months from now to 5 years from now? No way. But this is what I can tell you with our open source capabilities and what we can do at the edge. There's probably 2 people in a garage right now that are developing the coolest code for healthcare, retail, I don't know. And what's going to happen is they're going to say, how do we get this to market? And there's really kind of only one company out there that has the capability to bring in those third-party analytics, run them at the edge, deploy them to a very large swath of partners from our channel partner program and end customers that are already utilizing our devices. So I'll tell people like, look, I think we're pretty smart. We're a pretty sharp organization. I don't know everything that you're going to need 2 or 3 years from now. I can't guarantee it. But what I can guarantee you is there are going to be other people that are going to come and they're going to want to partner with us and work with us. And I can tell you, we get 25 applications a week into this partner platform, and it's vetted, and these people get a deeper dive into what's running behind the scenes from a programming standpoint on an Axis product.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge thing, right? To be able to have a platform that they can develop for,
Yes.
and that's what they're looking for. So, and that kind of brings another kind of thought on, which is cybersecurity. I mean, it's on everyone's mind lately.
Mhm.
How is Axis addressing that?
Cyber has been an important part of what we've been putting out there for quite some time. Before cyber was a buzzword, Axis was very involved in this space. So that comes, you can really point it to the development of our own chipset, the ARTPEC, which is coming up on the 9th version. But some ways that we do that is we have something called Edge Vault, and Edge Vault verifies the software and the firmware that you're utilizing. We do TPM, Trusted Platform Modules. That's pretty much on all of our products for the past 2 years. We've been printing a hardening guide for years. And there aren't too many people that will do that in our space. And again, this is not something that, hey, cyber's a buzzword, we should go out and print this hardening guide. It's been out there for a very, very long time. Down to secure boot. So secure boot would be a feature that it's only going to boot up with trusted firmware. So these are some little things that we deploy and put in. And it's something that is, across our portfolio.
Yeah, I mean, I think you give people the tools that they need to make sure that they're using best practices, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's half the battle is for a long time, people just were leaving sort of the default passwords and things like that.
Oh, definitely. If you hook up an Axis camera, you're going to be, or an Axis device, you're going to be prompted to use a little bit something stronger than 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I mean, things like that, having that baked in, that goes a
Mhm.
long way. Which kind of gets me to, you and I have been supporting channel partners for a long time.
Yeah.
So how does Axis approach the channel, help its partners to clearly communicate your value prop and differentiators from, other solutions out there?
Well, we don't sell direct. So when we think about the channel, I have, a myriad of channel partners, installing partners of our product. So when I say we don't sell direct, I cannot sell to an end customer. All right. I don't sell anything here in the United States, or really for that matter, globally. You can only get our product from a distributor. So it's a two-tier model. And one of the strongest points for a channel partner is the loyalty. And one of our founders, the story that I was told, one of our founders, Keith Bloodworth in 1984, he came from a background of, selling networking equipment into the financial banking space. And what happened to him quite often would be he would come across an opportunity, bring it back to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer would say, hey, this is a little too big for you. So thanks for telling us about it. Maybe we'll give you a little finder's fee, but we're just going to take this one and we'll run with it direct. We've never done that. We won't do that. We work with end customers, but we don't sell to them. So we will funnel them back through our channel partners. And, it's something that I will tell you I'm very proud of, because I can say, look, I am not going to, you can trust me. I'm not, if you're going to lead with me, you can trust me. I'm not going to swoop around and take this deal away from you because it's too big for you.
It's a crazy scenario, isn't it? That
Yeah,
even
yeah, it
happens.
is. And
Yeah.
it still happens a lot in our space today. And unfortunately, I see it more often than I would like.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like pick one. You
Right.
want to go direct or you want to do channel. You can't really kind of do both.
You can't have it both ways. And,
Yeah.
it's kind of, I'll tell you, going to go off topic a little bit, but something that also drives me nuts is, NDAA. So we don't have any products that do not conform to NDAA.
Right.
None. But then we have, competitors that will they want their cake and eat it too, So
Yeah.
they will push forth this, hey, we're non-NDAA. We've got a guide that will help you, conform to non-NDAA, but oh, don't look over here because we actually have an entire offering where we do have non-NDAA cameras that we're selling. So I think that's kind of confusing, and
Yeah,
that's not
absolutely.
something that we do.
Yeah. And I think that's super important. And I would also say that, I mean, I know you guys are doing some things for the channel that are unique, and the benefits of the Axis program for educational,
Yeah.
your portal. I know you're 100% channel, which is huge. And to me, one of the coolest things is the Axis Experience Centers. I've been to those, the one in Irvine.
Yeah.
That is a pretty huge benefit, especially for channel partners being able to bring a client in there and actually show them all the equipment beforehand.
It's really it's special, and it's something that started 2015, a little bit before then. Our AECs, Access Experience Centers. And Steve Jobs has a quote that I just absolutely love, and it's people don't know what they want until you show it to them. And at its heart, that is what an Access Experience Center is we like to think we're a sales organization, but we like to think of ourselves as more of a consultative sale. It's not very, it's not high pressure at all. And we're problem solvers. And what these experience centers are is again, another reference to Apple is it's very similar to going into an Apple store. You go into an Apple store and they've got all the Apple products there. And then they have an Apple Genius. So if you want to talk to somebody about, hey, how do I download this Mac software, or, I'm having trouble with this, you can talk to somebody. But then there's OtterBox covers, and there's Beats speakers, and there's all this other stuff. Our experience centers, in essence, are the same thing. So we have a multitude of our products hooked up, ready to be demoed. And then we have a lot of our partners' products hooked up, ready to be demoed. And it gives our partners the ability to have their end customer come in, and we can kind of replicate exactly what they want to do, down to the point of if you're a large school system and you have, let's say, a Genetec VMS, and you want to deploy a metal detector at the front gate, and you would like to know, what does it look like on the video when the metal detector goes off, and what's the key? I can replicate that for you in one of my AECs. Now, they're not all the same. They're not all cookie cutter. They're all different. But we have that ability to do that. And very uniquely, what will happen is we'll have, again, you can talk like a school district that may want to come in and look at updating to a higher resolution of their indoor cameras, and then they see what we're doing with their account. Then they see how audio can make their video surveillance more proactive. Holy cow, you can do access control. I can do all this on a VMS. I can see it from a phone. This is real world stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
let me prove it to you. And that's really, in essence, what's so cool about these offices is, hey, Dave, we're sales guys. I'd love to sit here and tell you about how great we are and all this, but I'd really rather prove it to you. So when you walk out of here, you can say, hey, you know what? I saw it. I know
Yeah.
how it's going to look. I see how it's going to work. It gives that end customer more peace of mind.
Yeah. That is, it's a great, I mean, if anyone hasn't been in one of those, it's actually really, really cool. You get to actually see the equipment and, like you said, replicate an environment.
Oh yeah, I believe it's 16 in the United States right now. They're just finishing
Wow.
up Phoenix, which is in your former neck of the woods. But
Yeah.
I'm calling you from our office in Fort Lauderdale, which is, well over 9,000 square feet. I probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 cameras. Got cameras on our roof. We've got
Dang.
cameras all over the place, and soup to nuts. I've got many different VMS partners in here, analytic partners, you name it.
That makes me think of you guys just have a huge portfolio. Axis has a huge portfolio. And how have they made it easier for all of these ecosystem partners to integrate with all of your devices?
Um, well, I feel very fortunate to be here because I'll tell you, there's 4,800 people in Axis, employees. A third of them are engineers, and
Hmm.
and there's some pretty smart people that work here. And by doing this for 40 years, we have a 54-page catalog, soup to nuts.
Wow.
Cameras, access control, audio, intercom. They have all these products program off the same web browser GUI interface. So there's this consistency that was thought of a very, very, very long time ago. And because I mentioned the number of engineers that are here, we make everything. So it's our software, it's our firmware, it's our mechanical engineering, it's everything. It's done by us, by our engineers. And that brings the consistency forward where we're not trying to back our way into things. And this kind of
Right.
happened when there was the transition from analog over to IP.
Right.
There were a lot of analog companies that were still holding on to that analog, and then they started backing into IP, and you just couldn't like bolt on a NIC card onto this camera and say, hey, we got an IP camera.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good to go. We didn't do anything with analog in that fashion. We were networking from day one.
Right from day one. Yeah, exactly.
And so that consistency and approach in developing our own chipset and doing all these things on our own has been able to have us create our own path where it's not, okay, we bought this company and now we have to figure out how to ingest their technology into what we're doing. And then we
Right.
got this company over here. We've done it in-house. Really right now, 2N would be the last acquisition. And really they're kind of, they're an Axis company, but they're a standalone company and they have a lot of unique capabilities into our platforms. But my point with that is audio, access control, or VMS, body worn, radar, all these, they're done in-house. We do it. We didn't go out and buy somebody and then say, oh, gee, how do we figure out how to make it work with our stuff? And
Yeah,
that
I mean,
has been the,
I was just going to say standardizing on a web
yes.
GUI. I mean, that's
Oh,
huge, right?
yeah,
Because,
no, yeah,
I won't say names, but not being able to easily integrate with a system because there's a million different, GUIs to go with is not fun for a developer for sure.
well,
So I'm
no,
sure that's music to the ears of all of your milestones and Genetechs out there.
and it's not the developers, it's music to theirs, but imagine being an installer and you've got dome cameras that were OEM'd by somebody and they have a particular firmware and it's the same name. Then you got bullet cameras and then PTZ, and all these firmwares are different. They don't program the same. And as updates and things happen, where's the consistency? Who is going to be? What happens if that OEM goes out of business? Who's gonna be here to make sure that my firmware is up to date? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, those are big issues. It's like, well, now that was a very expensive camera
Yeah,
because now you don't have the support for it, right?
right.
So now it's rip and replace.
Yeah.
So what are some of the products that just whether it's integrators or customers aren't really aware of? Like, what are some things that are like, oh, I didn't know Axis, you know, made that type of thing.
Well, I mentioned body worn. So, people are, usually surprised to see that we have a body worn. And what is unique about our body worn is it's open. It can be recorded onto a Genetec system. It can be recorded onto a Milestone system. It can be recorded onto an Exact system. It can be recorded onto a Cognify system. It can be recorded onto Axis Camera Stage. So it's essentially a camera, an Axis camera that is body worn. And I can take it back, I can dock it, and I can suck the video out of it. And what's exciting about that for me is most people, when they think of body worn, they think of law enforcement, they think of police. And this body worn is taking us into areas that you would never think of from a retail environment. And I'm not talking like the big square body worn we have a much smaller one that you can incorporate into a name tag. Very sleek, very nice. So we have a lot of, um, retail customers, customer service facing entities, healthcare, education, um, warehousing. So, these non-traditional body worn camera users, large police departments, and we do very well in police departments. I could tell you that because of our open source and not having a managed cloud and a fee attached to it, we have a lot of three-letter acronym government agencies that like the ability, if they're going to do, I don't know, we're going to take down a bad guy, and we're going to bring 15 people. Okay, each person take a camera, pull it out, record the thing, come back. They've got the video, they're done. And if they don't use anything for another 2 months, it's fine. If they bought the device, they already have the VMS software. It's good to go. But that radar access control, we've just done a very large partnership with Genetec where we can take some Genetec software and deploy it onto one of our access control door controllers. It's called Powered by Genetec, and it's really unique. It's going to be game changing for the enterprise access control space, which hasn't seen a lot of game changing stuff over the years. And mentioned radar, audio is a big one. I remember when we first introduced audio, people would ask, why are you guys getting in the audio space? I don't understand. And really, quite simply at the time, it was, well, we can make video proactive. I could take a speaker and, hey, I don't need an amplifier, I don't need an equalizer. This is PoE, it's network driven. Camera senses something, you can play a message, it's SIP enabled, you can page to it, you can do all these things. And now, 8 years later, after we introduced our audio capabilities, it's a the platform has grown and we have some unique ways to manage it. And it keeps growing.
Yeah, I think audio is definitely a growing area as well, for sure. So I see more and more, but it's a good reason that you guys got in there, I'm sure.
Well, it's funny because somebody will look at the cost of a network speaker and they will look at like a 70-volt paging speaker, and it's apples and oranges. But when you look at, you don't need the amplifier, you don't need the equalizer, you don't need that heavy gauge, copper cable, you don't the labor installed to do it. All of a sudden they're like, oh, holy cow, I see. And then I can take software and I can schedule things and I can do this and I can page to it and I can play background music, and there's two-way audio in the speaker setup as well.
That's the magic of IP, right?
Yeah, definitely it is magic. Yeah.
So especially I see that for PA, or like, if you're on a, I don't know, a car lot, being able to talk down to somebody like, hey,
Yeah.
you need to get out of here.
Yeah, that's a scenario that I talk about with our radar, where I will have end customers ask me, what do you guys do with radar? I'm like, well, we can tell you if something's out there. And very simply with our audio speaker, car lot, they're worried about catalytic converters get stolen and things.
Oh man. Yeah.
Cars get vandalized, and somebody can come on a lot at the dead of night, and the radar can pick it up out there, and maybe you just turn on the lights. And then if they come a little bit closer to a certain point, then I play a message. Then they come a little bit closer, then I turn on the indoor lights, I play a message, and I let them know we're calling the police. Very simply, our radar does a lot more than that, but
Yeah. But things
that's
weren't, that wasn't possible just not that long ago.
no, not at all, not at all,
Yeah.
and not at the simplicity of having
Yeah.
essentially one capability to do that, one software.
Yeah. If it was possible, it took a lot more gear and a lot more programming. So yeah, the simplicity of, and that's always a scenario
Yeah,
of somebody going on a lot, and then they're going to just break windshields or steal, radios at them or whatever. So
absolutely.
that's a good one for sure. So I wanted to see if we could give a sneak peek on what are you guys gonna be showing off at GSX. I saw a recent release of a bullet camera that is 41 megapixels at 15 frames per second. So that piqued my interest. What kind of scenarios are you seeing that with that? And is that gonna be something you guys will show at GSX?
I'm pretty confident it'll be there at GSX. I'll be at GSX because it's in my home state of Florida, just a little north of me in Orlando. Um, that camera's crazy. It's awesome. I mean, and it's not a big camera. I mean, it wasn't long ago where you'd have a 20 megapixel camera on this giant Canon lens on the end of it. Our 41 megapixel camera is the size of a traditional bullet camera, and it's pretty neat. So we've taken it out to some stadiums, and people are very impressed because you know it's the resolution. People always tout, hey, look at this megapixel. Okay, what's the frame rate? You know, how sensitive is it in low light? Does it have any wide dynamic capabilities? And that, well, don't ask me that. In a really good, perfect scenario, the camera's awesome. Um, this camera, it has a lot of these awesome features where, with our zip stream capability, I can really make dramatic decreases in the amount of bandwidth for a resolution that size. And that's crazy to think of, with that frame rate. So that'll be there. Some new things that you'll see at GSX will be in our wearables, our body worn. So you're going to see a lot more capability for in-car solutions for law enforcement and some other scenarios, like maybe like a school bus. Our audio, we're always continuing to add into our audio array. A couple of years ago, we made an all-in-one where it was a 2x2 ceiling tile with the speaker built in, and it was just something that you could go in and pop up, and that will be something that we will see there. We'll also see some of our audio manager software, which allows you to, if you have a large deployment of network-based speakers, we can manage these speakers. And that kind of goes back into the cyber concerns, other concerns that you're going to have. How can I update firmware? Can I know if these things are, where's the warranty situation on these? We can do that with our ADMX, which is our ability to manage an Axis product that is out in the field. We're going to see that.
Yeah, just making that more simple. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
That-
It's we're at the end of the day, Dave, I mean, we're in the relationship business. We happen to sell a really cool product, and if you can't tell, I'm pretty excited about what we have.
yeah.
I mean, it's fun. It's fun to bring people into these offices or at a trade show and show them something that they did not know existed. And because a lot of end customers maybe have the same type of issue. So if we talk to a hospital, which we have a new healthcare camera that is out that has some really unique capabilities in that we will be showing at GSX as well. So
Oh, cool.
it runs the gamut. There's going to be a lot of unique things there.
Well, you guys all have a big booth, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
To fit all this out there and
Well,
show
yeah, you
everybody
need
at
the space to
GSX.
put it in, and we don't want people, stepping all over themselves to get in there. But
Yeah.
there's going to be that. There's going to be some analytics. There's going to be really everything from intercom, audio, video surveillance, you name it. And those are some of the products that we will be touting at GSX.
Beautiful. Well, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Axis, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
The best way to do this, and I'm looking right now because I want to make sure I have the email address correct. The best way to do that, Dave, is SEBA, SEBA dash ISAMS, ISAMS at axis.com. And so SEBA dash ISAMS at axis.com. What that is because I know people all over the globe are going to be looking at your podcast here. That will be a repository here in my region. So if you're calling Finland, if you have interest and you're in Vancouver, Canada, what we can do is I can take that and I can extrapolate it out. So, what we'll tell people here in the United States is we're kind of like McDonald's. The quarter pounder that you get here in Miami is going to taste the same as it is in LA. And what I mean by that is by the support. You're going to have phenomenal support wherever you go. So if somebody wanted to get in touch and they liked what they had, we talked about here, hit us up at that email address and I can either answer your question or get you to where you need to go.
Awesome. Well, John, thanks for coming on Defender and sharing your insights. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, me too, Dave. This was fun.